Yeah, you know what it is. Welcome to the best coast. Yo, it's Bronze Age nerd with that collecting elite. Big B McFly steady bringing the vintage heat. Pull up a seat, we diving in the stacks. Silver to the bronze, got the knowledge on tap. From Kirby's Kings to the mutants, wow. We breaking it down in that laid-back style. So grab your snacks, let the panels unfold. This is comic book chillin' with the stories we told. Comic book vibes, we flipping them pages. Legends and lore from all the ages. Golden to the modern, we talk that news. With Big B McFly and the nerd cut loose. Yo, you tune into that Bronze Age flow. Where comics live and legends grow. Big B McFly in the cut, let's fly. Best coast, baby, comics are what saved me. Big B, yeah. Baby, comics are what saved me.
Hey, what is up, comic book people? Welcome to another episode of Best Coast Comics. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I'm joined, as always, by my trusty co-host,
Liam Neeson.
Oh,
I have a very specific skill set. Oh, wait. Big B McFly, the comic guy.
Nice, good one. And as you can see, we have a very special guest this week. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to John from Paper Chase Comics. How's it going, John?
What is up, guys? Thank you for having me on the show. Very excited to be here with both of you.
Awesome. We're very, very happy to have you. So yeah, we got a great show tonight. We're going to talk about a really fun topic, as you saw in the thumbnail and the title, probably about something that the community talks about all the time, which is flippers and whether or not they're ruining the hobby and all the drama that happens around flipping comic books and all that fun stuff. We're going to get into it, give you our opinions on the different aspects of flipping and how it could maybe be good for the hobby, how it can be bad for the hobby, and whether or not we do it ourselves and what that means for us and all those sorts of things. So we're definitely going to get into that. Before we say hello to everybody in the chat, we do like to remind everybody we're streaming on a few different channels. So you can watch me on the Bronze Age Nerd channel. You can watch all of us over on Big B McFly's channel. You can also watch us all over on the EXP, which is an awesome collection of comic book shows, claim sales, interviews, all kinds of great stuff over there. Original art auctions with Nick Barucci. Can't miss that on Friday nights over on the EXP. Links for all those channels and for our guest channel, Paper Chase Comics, in the description below. Please, you know what to do. Go hit those links, like, subscribe, follow all their feeds. We want to see you subscribe to all those channels. And we want to welcome everybody into the show, starting with the very first comment, the gold medal of the night, Richard Westphal.
He's back getting the gold.
He's in the gold. Giving GT Key Comic a run for his money. He is now silver and coming up with that venerable bronze medal that we love around here. We got Derek. What's up, Derek? Hello, and thanks for joining the show. Comics Limited's in the house. What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on his civilian account. Rookie mistake. It's okay. You're here now. My advice: log into multiple devices and watch from all of them from different accounts. That's fine. We don't mind that. We got Rat Boy in the house and Chonko Comics and Nerd Culture. Hello to all.
Hey.
Hydra Asylum's chilling here. Tricks are still for kids, Liam. Fingers and Toes. We got Fingers and Toes. Looks like it's a bit of a trap here too in your profile picture. What is up? How's it going? Shigeyuki Kikita, 2 weeks in a row. Hey, keep up that streak. We love to see you here. Always love to see you on the lives. Watching on the rewind's fine, but we love to see you live. I know it's late for a lot of people though. Comic Vet, what is up, Comic Vet? Salute you. And it's about time we call out all these good dirty flippers. How dare they sell comics for FMV and try to support their families by selling comics? I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. What is up, Eddie? How's it going?
Hey.
I do have two bits of news before we dive into topics that everybody wants to see us talk about. Bear with me for 2 seconds. 2 bits of breaking news kind of around here. We, in 2 weekends, so not this weekend, but the following weekend, we're going to have our first Heroes for Heroes live stream auction on Saturday. So definitely make sure you tune into that. That's going to get scheduled here really quick. You're going to see links going out for it from all of our backers and community members. That's supporting Mission 22. We want to support veterans' mental health. And anybody who wants to support that by donating items, commissioned art, sketches, all that kind of stuff, hit me up. Any of the social media accounts you can follow me on, or at my email, thebronzeagenerd@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you. And then we have the link for the donations below. If you want to go donate right now, you can go do that. Remember, it's directly to Mission 22. It's an official charity partners sponsorship, so you can go do that directly through them. The second bit of breaking news before I get to some more fun stuff we can talk about. This is fun for me. It'll be fun for Bigby as well, I think. Originally, I announced I wasn't going to be a moderator at Washington Summer Con. That actually changed today. I'm now going to be moderating panels at Washington Summer Con this weekend. Saturday and Sunday, I'll be attending. Saturday, we have lots of great guests that you're going to want to come to 2 different panels. I actually have to, it's so new, I got to look up and see who they were again on each time. Saturday at 12 o'clock on the gold stage, I'll be interviewing Dan Slott, Steve Orlando, and Benjamin Percy. At 3 p.m. on Saturday at the gold stage, I'll be interviewing Ryan Stegman and Mark Brooks. So that's going to be a really awesome set of interviews. If you're there Saturday, please come and be part of the audience and ask your questions. On Sunday, we're going to talk to a couple Deadpool legends. We're going to talk to Fabian Nicieza and Jerry Duggan too as well, talking about some Deadpool fun. So come hang out for that. Come on up and say hi. I'd love to talk to any viewers that are there. I usually run into a lot of people there. Big B is going to be helping me out in the crowd, doing, taking pictures and telling me when my time's up and I need to wrap up the interview, all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, exactly. So go say hi to us. I know Chris from Comic Tropes is going to be there on Saturday as well, too. Probably going to see him with us at some points, too. So come say hi. All right. Now that I got all that stuff out of the way, we've got some news to talk about. We have some breaking news. So since we have some breaking news, I guess I should probably scroll past a bunch of stuff that I forgot was there and play this.
Look at those handsome fellas.
Those very handsome fellas. So last week we talked about grading companies and what we think the perfect grading company would look like. And a lot of that was inspired by PSA entering the graded comic book market, huge in the card business, and they're coming to comic books. And we have some hot off the press news, as Bigby put it earlier, that we are officially gonna start seeing comics and magazines graded by PSA starting July 14th. So that's right around the corner. We also have the official new label reveals, which they have bigger pictures. No, they don't. So here's the picture of that. They have the gold label, and then it's a little bit smaller and harder to see here, but they have the red label there on the right. So, gentlemen,
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you guys. We should let our guest get first crack at this. John, what do you think about this? The labels, the whole PSA thing to begin with. What do you think?
Yeah. Look, bold move, sticking to their brand. I mean, I get it.
Right.
But I think it's just one of those things. It's just kind of standard. Red is going to contrast with a lot of the stuff that's going to go in those cases. And comics is an aesthetic collectible for sure. It's not on the same tier as card collecting. So the aesthetics is a huge hit. So initially, I think it's really, really off-putting. A lot of people, they're going to have to digest it. Of course, if you put FMV past 10 sales have been outperforming CGC, that's going to make that label increase a little bit to people. Yeah. I think people are going to be yeah, actually, maybe it's not so bad. Right. But you put that in a lineup on a wall of a bunch of blue. I mean, it's literally the opposite. It's inverted number. It's red. So, man, people are going to have a hard time getting past that aesthetic. I mean, so far, the little bit of comments that I've looked at, people are already shitting on it, Right. Do y'all curse in this podcast? I'm sorry.
Oh, you can. Yeah. You're
okay.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my initial thoughts. That it's going to be hard to get over that. So the question is, who's gonna be the brave souls to to sway this? It's not going to really be the dealers. It's going to be the people that buy this. Will they buy it at FMV? That's the people that's going to sway PSA over CGC. Are they going to put forth the same amount of dollars, and try to sway the market that way? Yeah. So I don't know.
Definitely the $1 million question. I think you hit it right on the head.
The text seems kind of small.
Yeah.
They used.
I mean, then again, on some labels, I could see there being a lot more text in those boxes, depending on what they want to put on there.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing the back either. I don't know. Do they have info on the back? Do they have the QR code on the back and that kind of stuff?
I believe they do
wondering.
from the previous label. I doubt they would have changed that. I can tell you there's one other big change too. Is they're eliminating 9.9s. I'm trying to see where this article mentions it. I know I saw that in a post earlier from Neo Cards and Comics. Shout out to them. But I saw they're eliminating the 9.9, that's a bold move too.
So it's either a 9.8 or a 10. There we go.
Which honestly, I've always thought 9.9 was kind of a screwy grade to begin with. I'll be honest, but it is part of the grading tradition.
Yeah, that's like, I think back to the font. I think the problem with the font is just so damn simple, dude. It's like they created a Microsoft Word like 97. It's just like you couldn't have like come up with anything like more creative. And I'm not very familiar with their card font, but I'm guessing it's probably pretty similar.
Very similar. Yeah, very similar.
Well, I mean, like I said, the respect is there for sticking to the brand, but I mean, golly, is that not a pretty label? It's just not.
And to your point, you just brought this up, John. So the previous label that PSA had, for their cards, is very plain, and that's what they basically just slapped that on the comic book label and kind of lengthened it for the length of a comic book width, and everyone was like, oh my god, they're going with that. And personally, it sort of made sense to me. Like, it's brand, even if it's ugly, it is kind of a brand thing for them. And I brought up the point a couple times that you have to assume that PSA is partially trying to play to their existing card customers. Remember the 90s, a lot of card and comic overlap, right? With hobbyists and collectors and speculators, investors, flippers. So I think whether it's intelligent or not, I don't know, but I think that there is some DNA that they're wanting to preserve with the PSA look and brand. And this is it's pretty similar. It's rearranged everything a little bit. I think it's better than the original one that they had, which
I would agree on that. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's it's not like universes apart or anything, but
their original card one, it almost looks like typewriter font, like on the
it's like Times New Roman or something, right? Or Arial, I guess, is really what it is. But it's I don't know, like it's not a pretty label. And I will say this, I think I said this last week, labels seem to matter to people. You look at CGC versus CBCS was a huge thing in our hobby, and still to some extent kind of is, whether or not people prefer one or the other. And the biggest knock that people always had against CBCS was it felt like the number one thing was the label. And so that's clearly a factor for people. But I do, man, part of me wants to be all in on PSA just because I'd love to see them kind of punch CGC in the nose. Not like in like a violent takeover way. That's kind of kind of being metaphorical here. I want to see somebody really contend with CGC and keep them honest and kind of strive for some competition, so they have to up their quality control,
up the game. So everybody has to up their game, right?
That's my idea.
And actually, we got a graphic designer in here, Colossus Collector. That's what he does for a living. So he's
interesting.
He's chiming in there.
As the font was any closer to the edge of the box, it'd be overlapping. It's terrible design. You're not wrong.
He had a good mock design too. Colossus did. He did one like a little faux design himself, and how he would have done it. It was good. It was very good. It was way better than that. That's for damn sure.
So this is a good question, Brian. I know you sent me this article. Did you have a chance to read through it at all? Because I didn't see if it mentioned pricing.
To fly through it, I just scoured the internet, found it, and sent it over to you, and then tried to get presentable for the show.
Yeah, I mean that's funny because that's really, I mean, that's what, less than a month away at this point, and I don't see any other details
about
in this link. And this is, again, folks, I saw people posting this on social media. A couple people sent it to me, and then I asked Bigby if he could go find an article, and luckily Yahoo posted this article, so we have at least a legit news source to talk about. If you can call Yahoo legit, I guess you can in 2025. But it is interesting. I think this is going to be a really polarizing for a lot of people. I saw comments immediately, like John was saying, hey, it looks terrible. It looks shitty. I hope they go in a different direction. I still think it looks better than their last attempt, so it is an improvement. They clearly want to keep it simple.
But like I said last week, I think people will vote with their wallet too. And if John's saying that they're going for higher than the CGC counterpart, then people are going to start voting with their wallet.
Yep. Yeah, and I know that, you know, our topic tonight, which we'll get into here in a second, we just kind of wanted to go out of order because this was breaking news. But when we talk about flippers, the interesting thing is a lot of the flippers, I think, do kind of, the speculators do kind of drive the market in comics these days in some regards. And if enough of them want this to succeed, they're gonna put their money into it and try to really, you know, get those books graded by PSA, try to get to those early, you know, high grades, get those out there on the market. And I could see that actually being a big factor because if they think they can get this to be more profitable than CGC in the long run, they're going to be interested. You know, that's really money talks, right? BS walks, as they say.
Yeah.
Hey, Comic Tropes, how's it going? No, you're just in time. That's the way I look at it.
He missed your SummerCon news, though.
That's true. I will be at SummerCon with Big B this weekend, moderating some panels, Comic Tropes. So hopefully I'll see you there on Saturday and Sunday. I know you're not going Sunday, but hopefully we'll see you. I called it.
I said they've totally spaced that they need a moderator, and they're going to hit you up at the last second.
Yeah, it felt both years. It's felt very slapdash. But hey, it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I think this year we're gonna try to stealthily film some of the panels with Big B's help, maybe, and get some of that stuff out there. At least clips, you know. Yeah, consensus has become that CBCS grades tougher than CGC. I don't know if I agree with tougher, but I know there are people that definitely say that. But I would say that they are more consistent in their grading.
Yeah, I agree.
But a CGC 9.8 is still much more in demand than CBCS 9.8. That's definitely true. You can. I can't think of a single example where a CBCS goes for more than CGC.
And that was my comment. That was my whole thing last week about the voting with your wallet. You know, if people want to be inspired and get people to move to another company, they need to vote with their wallet and start buying the books that are slabbed that way.
What's up, Awesome Sauce? Trying to shout out to everybody as they drop in here. Comic Tropes has some breaking news. Did you see that Global Comics now has a section to show YouTube videos about comics? Maybe you should apply. I think you guys make a great show. That's cool. I'll check that out for sure. Yeah. Thanks for the suggestion, and thanks for the kind words. Yes, this is a tried and true move. Pick up the CBCS. You can get them cheaper, and then a lot of people cross grade them. You know, whether they usually pull them out of the slab first, not really a true cross grade, not a cross submission. And then they'll submit them to CGC and see if they can get that same grade. And a lot of big books, you can make money that way for sure. Same thing with the old, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the old, what's the other company that is terrible that no one likes?
PGX?
PGX, thank you.
You mean somebody's hobby?
I wanted to say
it used to be a legit company. It used to
be. Scandal after scandal and debacle after debacle. But yeah, that's kind of the breaking news. I mean, look, we'll find out soon enough. I guess that's the real answer.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited for the change of pace and just the sheer not knowing of how this is going to go. You know,
right? It's
all
going
the
to be
market reports.
Interesting to watch how it all plays out for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I'm a big believer in high tides raise all ships. I'd really like to see, you know, and I mentioned CGC specifically earlier. I'd love CBCS to up their game because they're seeing competition. That'd be awesome. That's the best case scenario, is everybody's on their best, you know, on their toes, on their best behavior, delivering great products, and then collectors win.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it might, you know, help drive prices, probably not down, but prevent them from going up if people are worried about, you know, oh gosh, well, we're losing market to PSA, or oh gosh, we're losing market to, you know, that this new competitor. That can help. So I'm all in favor of that as well. You ever seen where some shops won't take unsolicited slabs unless they send it off for grading? Unsolicited slabs? Like, oh, you mean like bringing in like your own slab and like trying to get them to buy it? Is that what you're trying to say, Leonard? I didn't quite catch that maybe, but if that's what you meant, let me know. I haven't seen anything like that. You guys?
No, I haven't. I mean, maybe there was some fear back when we had the, people opening slabs and switching books out. I don't know, but I've never seen most shops will take a close look at everything and make sure that everything looks up to snuff. But
yeah, I've never seen that. I've never seen anybody do that.
I know, like what Bigby's talking about 2 years ago, there was a group of retailers on Facebook that were all talking about some people going around with switched out books in slabs. I think it was specifically Hulk 181s, I want to say, and Giant Size X-Men 1, where they take a higher grade slab and put in a lower grade book and then take it to a shop and try to sell it. It might have been a reaction to that, Leonard.
There was a fellow too. I think he was out of Tacoma, or not Tacoma, Spokane, but he was taking facsimiles and making them look aged, and then tearing the cover off and putting in no grade Hulk ones and stuff.
Oh, wow. Dirty scammers. From talking about dirty scammers, let's talk about dirty flippers. Let's get right into our main topic tonight. It's one of the reasons we wanted John to join us, and we're happy to have him here. So raise your hand if you've ever been called a dirty flipper or a flipper in this community. I'm just curious. Show of hands. Anybody ever been called that?
I don't know if I've ever heard myself get called it or read it, but I'm sure I have.
I definitely have. I've been called in live chats and stuff before, which is hilarious because I probably should flip a lot more comics than I do. And I've bought a lot of comics thinking I might flip them and don't. So I guess
Comic Ozzy.
What's up,
dude? Right on time. Yep. What's up, Ozzy? What's up, MacGyver? Some other people in chat here. But I'm curious, John. I'm really curious. You're a guest. What do you think about, just in general, this whole topic of flipping in the comic book community, the perception that it has with most people? Like, what's your gut reaction to that term when you hear it?
Yeah, it's that whole topic suffers from the loud minority. Basically what happens is, like, you take any statistic in life, you can break it up to 80 and 20. 80% of something is one thing, 20% is the other thing. So you have literally, if you take all your flippers, which is a very broad term, right? There's a lot of different ways to flip comics. Right. But 20% are doing what the term is attached to. So like Bigby, I sent you a quick little video before we aired, and this was kind of like, just as a reference point. And that video I sent you, I just scrolled across. I was like, this is the 20%. This is the bad act behind the name. And I don't know if you can pull it up now, but basically, long story short, this dude was like unpiling all these cards into a basket, and there was a little kid in line behind him. And by the time the flipper was done, the little kid didn't have nothing left to buy. So are there people, and I think most of us, when we think of a dirty flipper, we're thinking of the person that goes on New Comic Day, buys up the first appearance or the variant, and buys multiple copies if the LCS allows him to, and leaves nothing for the potential new collector or the reader, the true reader of the hobby. And that's like, the POS that everybody's like, okay, well, so is there dirt? I feel like flippers is, like I said, very broad. I feel like there's people that fund the hobby inconsiderately and considerately to kind of, this is right here, this POS.
I don't know why it stopped playing. There we go. Oh, it's playing all jacked up now. But yeah, this guy is basically taking all the brand new Pokemon drops that came into the store. While this collector's waiting in line here, this young kid hoping to get presumably hoping to get some Pokemon cards. Who knows? Maybe he's there for some 2024 Topps Chrome baseball cards. I doubt it. But
yeah, he looks pretty happy that this guy's taking all this stuff with him.
Yeah. You see look on his face. Terrible. Right. Poor memory unlocked is a great caption for that too.
Yeah. So so there's definitely a certain type of flipper that's out there that does the equivalent of that in the comic world. But a lot of the quote unquote flippers are people that just fund the hobby, and this is because majority of our community are not here. None of us are rich. A lot of us are fans of these characters, these storylines, these iconic pieces of literature, history, and you can't afford it. But there's a way that you can buy stuff and turn around, put work into it, right? You can use work ethic comic knowledge, make this nice little pot of stew, and come up with a recipe that can literally earn you your book of your dreams, or your grail rather, right? And that game within the comic book hobby is one of the most necessary fuels that this hobby has, that a lot of people, when they use that term dirty flipper, are not even considering how necessary of a cog that it is in the system of comic book hobbies. People that fund the hobby, and even flippers, even the wrong flippers, in a way, have a important part in our little ecosystem here.
I agree.
And so there's lots of different ways to flip comic books. So yeah, and for somebody who's like that, that brought up the question, oh, well, are they a serious collector or a real collector, or people call fake collectors? I mean, that's just, I think that's just like a nonsensical term. It's one of those things like, well, what do you call a real collector? What do you call a serious collector? So I think there are people that play this hobby smart, and I think there are people that choose not to. And I think the flippers are most of them are the financially smart ones. Because remember, nobody gets into comics because they want to make a lot of money. Nobody comes into this hobby because you want to get rich. It's a physical media, it's tangible media. It's literally dying. It's an anomaly that comic shops still exist to this day. You've got Best Buys closing up their DVD aisles. So the fact that paper, books are still there, it's because of that aftermarket, and it's because of all of that, funding the hobby and that grail in the distance that everybody's always trying to get. It's because of all that it's still a system in play.
Yeah. No, I think that I agree with so much what you just said there. And one of the things I try to tell people is, as a thought experiment, think about what it would be like if there were no flippers. And Shigeyuki brings up a good point here. A lot of people use this term. I believe Bigby is you don't like that term, right? Is that correct?
No, I don't have an issue with that term.
Okay. I thought I don't want to get into it again.
The reason you said that, John, is I'm part Native American. So
okay. At one point, you made a comment about not using that term, so I try to avoid that term when I can. But
I don't remember saying that. But okay.
Okay. It was early on. I've been sensitive. I try to remember things like that. But yeah, it's a term that gets used a lot too. Scalping, flipping. If you imagine a world where there were no comic book flippers out there, I got news for you. It would mean the entire comic book hobby was dead, because that without value attached to comic books, I hate to break it to people, comic book collecting would not exist. Now, I'm not saying comic books would go away. I'm not saying people wouldn't like reading graphic novels and other types of books that have, kind of comic format to them and manga and all that stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that for the paper collectors out there, the paper chasers out there, that's a huge part of it is that there's a reason why people put their comics in bags and boards as soon as they get them, and have for decades now. We want them to be in good shape. A big part of that, you might just say, well, I like to keep good care of my stuff. That's fine. But we know that affects the value of a comic. That's a huge part of it. Overstreet Price Guide's been around for 50 years, folks. It's nothing new. Comic books have always had value attached to them. And if you take that out of the equation, we're in trouble, because it's basically Beanie Babies from there on out.
See, I think it's almost like you probably have like different, you had the guys, the scalpers, those kind of guys, right? But like the guys like John and myself, I used to be more active in this, but not so much. But you're almost like an archaeologist. You're out there unearthing these treasures that are lost to everyone else and finding them so people can have access to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, that's another thing I like to make the comparison is like how you said an archaeologist. I was thinking of it as like, it's almost like Robin Hood. You're not stealing from the rich, but you're finding these great deals. And then a smart funder of the hobby, flipper, will pass that deal on. They're not going to try to like, oh, I need to squeeze every penny out of this collection I got for a great deal. It's like, no, man, keep the revolving door open, move the books quickly, and just let the process just continue on to the next one. Do you want to keep a book you want to keep it for 40, or do you want to sell it for 30? I just had
that conversation with a guy. He's not really a comic shop, but he has comics. And so I sold him a big bulk lot. And he's like, oh, so I should put these out for like $5 or $6. And I'm like, dude, put them out for like $2 or $3.
Yeah.
It's quick flip, and you can multiply that money. Otherwise, you're sitting on it for a year or 2 years. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, move it within a month or two and on to the next, you know, and then build that, accumulate that money to buy more and more and more, and you can expand your inventory.
Yeah, and your client base too, like everybody, like, you know, your customers, people know, like, hey, when this guy gets a collection, he's gonna release these books for good deals. So I'm gonna be right there, ready whenever he's ready to let him go.
And that's what I was telling this guy. I'm like, you don't have the knowledge base, you don't have the time to look everything up and price everything and slap a price tag on it. I said, just make sure they're maybe not even bagged and boarded, but just make sure that they're well taken care of, and then throw them out there and just say $3 a piece. And that's it. Then you don't have to worry about it. Let people have fun trying to find great deals and stuff in your boxes. You know, all you have to worry about is what your baseline price is.
Yeah.
Well, and to follow up on something else that John was saying too, in some ways, I'm one of the people out there that's definitely on both sides of this. When I first got back into comic book collecting, I live in kind of a comic book shop dead zone. Technically, yeah, I can drive far enough and get to a comic shop, but it's not really feasible to go regularly to a comic shop. And so when I want a new book and it's kind of harder to find, it wasn't something that you can just go grab off the newsstand, no problem, at a comic shop. A lot of times I need to resort to places like eBay or whatnot, or other types of retail outlets to get that comic if I want it, if I wasn't able to pre-order on FOC or whatever. Even that, you know, then I'm getting shipping charges and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really do a lot of FOC ordering. I read most of my new stuff digital, but if I want to collect a new physical comic book, I usually have to go to those people that are reselling. And a lot of them can be retailers or any of that kind of stuff too. But a lot of them are flippers. A lot of them are people that, you know, picked up 2 or 3 copies and they're selling a couple extras. Of course, there are people out there picking up every new copy off the rack. And that's kind of the first, you know, point I want to get to, where things might be a little bit different here. There's different versions of what I think of when I think of flipping behavior. I do want to get to that in a second, but just to those points, there are people out there like me, you know, for example, this is a really cool example. New York City Comic-Con exclusives. There were these, and they do this every year. There are these panels you have to go to get certain comic books. And if you don't go to that panel, you're not going to get that comic book. I'm not going to New York City Comic-Con, but there was a Duke #1 comic book I wanted. The only way to get it was to attend the New York City Comic-Con panel. Luckily, I had a friend that was there. You know, he gave me a great price on it, but he flipped that comic book to me, and now I own it, and I'm so happy to have that copy of Duke #1. It's, you know, one of the prizes of my kind of, you know, Skybound era kind of collection, because I was able to get a copy of it where I know there's only like probably a couple hundred out there, because that's how limited it was. And if it wasn't for my friend doing that, I wouldn't have that comic book. Right. But I did tease that topic of the different kinds of flippers. And when I think about New Comic Book Day and the term flipping, I do think about the person who, you know, maybe it was Absolute Batman #1 is a good example somewhat recently, where I know that comic book was getting a lot of buzz the couple days before it came out. And I'm sure you had plenty of shops out there where people were going and grabbing every copy off the rack that they could buy. What are your guys' opinions on that behavior?
It's not cool. I mean, I've been that guy that's going, oh, hey, they have like 8 copies of this book and it's going for $12 and it's still here for cover price. And I'm like, all right, I'll grab 2. You know, I'm not going to take all of them. And even just grabbing 2, sometimes I've gotten scolded by the guy like, hey, you can have 1. You know, it's like, okay. Yeah, you don't want to deprive everyone of the opportunity to get that book. So that's, yeah, you know, that. But at the same time, using your knowledge base isn't a bad thing. That's the scary thing, though, the getting into that new stuff, because it only holds its value for short term and then it starts plummeting. So it's like, if you start grabbing a stack of 20 books and you can't move them in, you know, 2 weeks, you're in trouble.
Absolutely. I really want to highlight Derek's comment here, because this is what I think of every time I think of that problem. And I know this can be tough for the retailer, but if you get that sense that, okay, let's say that you put 16 out on the rack and somebody's coming in and they're going to grab all 16, you might say, you know what, we're going to limit this to like 5 copies for you, or 3 copies for you, or 1 copy, whatever it might be. Every shop's gonna be a little bit different for that. But I can't really blame a shop too. The shop's got to do whatever it can to make money because it doesn't want to hold onto those books. At the same time, you could argue that the shop's going to maybe benefit from getting 16 new readers into that new series, as opposed to just, one person buying up all the copies and reselling them elsewhere, because then next month they might come back for that number 2, which we all know most people don't do.
Right. I've got one, way to kind of compare this is compare and contrast to the Pokemon era. I had a shop during that era, and I limited people to 3 packs per day. And I had a guy come in, a kid who eventually became one of my biggest competitors, owned his own store later, but he came in with a wad of $100 bills, and he's like, I'll take everything you've got. And I said, you can have 3 packs. And he proceeded to cuss me out and call me an effing idiot. And you don't want money. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, no, I want to make sure that, see the little kid who just came in the door, I want to make sure he gets to come in and get some packs too. I'm like, you can come back tomorrow and get 3 more packs. You can come back the day after that and get 3 more packs. Pick whichever 3 packs you want. So yeah, I could see that where you're saying 1 copy of the book per day. You can come back the next day and buy another copy if you want, but yeah, if I get to spell, what's that? Transformers 1, you said they didn't get any copies of?
Yeah.
Your LCS?
Well, and so Comics Limited, for those that don't know, and hopefully he doesn't mind me mentioning in this context, he works at the largest comic book shop in the Pacific Northwest. So he's kind of like, why the shop needs to make money. They offer shelves for customers. And there's points to that I want to address.
Right.
In the context of, though, you do work at one of the largest comic book shops in the Northwest. So they're going to get a lot more comics, generally speaking, than your average LCS will. But yeah, they offer the shelf. And that's the other thing I was going to mention too. Another type of flipping is, and this is something that I have 0 problems with, and I will defend till the ends of the earth. Somebody bulk buying on FOC 100 copies, 1,000 copies, whatever.
Yeah, if you order ahead of time, then
all bets are off, man. Like you can do that all day long because you're not taking anything out of anybody's hand at that point.
Yeah.
In fact, you're kind of, you're basically taking on a similar amount of risk that the LCS does when they're ordering their copies, right?
Yeah, I can see what Travis is saying too,
yeah.
though. Like we were just saying, if you can't sell through those copies in 2 weeks, you're in trouble. If the LCS doesn't sell through those things before the hotness wears off, they're stuck with them, right? So they're like, hey, you want to buy 5 copies of that? Go for it. I know when that the Battle Beast book came out, people were going in and buying 10 and 20 copies, the polybags, and the shops were just like, take them. That's why we bought so many. So
for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100% with everything y'all was saying. Like the FOC thing is fair game, and also like it starts with the comic shop owner to like, if he feels like he needs to limit that, depending on like the size of the store and stuff. But like, there's also that thing where like first day, new comic book day, of course, limit it. And if you're somebody going in there and that shop's not regulating it, I mean, read the room. Like, don't be a POS. Don't take everything off the shelf. Now, if you go in 3 days later, if you go in on that Friday and there's still 5 copies sitting there, well, then they're probably going to sit there for a bit longer. And if those people were really adamant about reading those books, they probably would have made it there 2 days ago when the book hit the shelf.
Totally.
So if that's the case, then then take your shot. You're taking a higher risk though, as a flipper, but but the new comic book day, man, stuff that is the flipping game that I play the least in. I really love collection buying and hunting back issues, niche collecting, finding things that, high grade newsstands, if you know how to grade a comic properly and like you find some stuff like that or errors and different printings, that stuff is way more fun than playing the entire guessing game of what the hell is going to get hot. I'm not saying I'd never do it, but I try not to really do it much at all.
Yeah, no, I like to be, I'm not into the new books so much. I'm more of the vintage stuff, unearthing the lost finds, that kind of thing. And then also like I'll have people who will put me on a mission like, hey, I'm looking for Zombie Tramp. That's a low print run indie book. I'm looking to complete a run of all the variants and everything else if you find any. So I went out and I found this guy a great deal all the way down to like issue number 1.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting the first appearance of Zatanna for it.
Nice. Wow. There you go.
So,
I never like, and that's something that kind of drives me a little bonkers is like, I had one person comment on a video. I think it was the last collection I bought. And he's like, yeah, you bought every book for 25 cents or something like that. But it's what it kind of averaged out to be. And he's like, you know, even if you would have sold all those books at $1, you know, you making this much money off them. And like, he basically was damning me for how much I pay for the collection.
the reality is you're not going to sell every one of those books for $1.
Yes, that's definitely a big reality. And I mean, I asked him in the comments, I was like, do you hate your LCS? Do you know what your LCS is going to pay for these same books here?
Pay even less. That's that's
like
I've come across collections where the LCS offered $10 a box for long boxes. And it's like, okay,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that element of, so I'm very glad you brought that up, because that's another type of flipping. There's actually, the two kinds that really come to mind there are going to your LCS and digging through a bin, but also buying collections. And you brought up both of those, and that's great. Because so the digging through the LCS, I've always been in the mind that if an LCS has a book, I don't care if it's worth $10,000, and if they have it in their bins priced at $5, that's on them. That's kind of been
my thing. If you're a pro, if you're a professional store and you have something underpriced, that's on you. And I having had a store, I had my bins and I had stuff priced where I was making a profit off of what I paid that I was comfortable with. And if you found something that was worth $50 that I priced for $8 or $6, good. I'm making a decent margin off of that stuff because I priced it when I priced it. And I'm happy for you. I'm not going to change the price at the register because you're not going to. It's going to make you mad. I know if it was me, the customer, I'd be mad. I'm not going to come back if that happens. So yeah, good deal for you. Dig, be happy, find the finds, and that's half the fun is digging. That's why we love going to the Frankenstein comic swap. I mean, it's just
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people there. You know, you mentioned that comic swap, and for those who don't know, it's basically, most of it is collectors. I mean, there's some retailers and stuff that go there too, but they go there and they kind of just are trying to sell off parts of their collection, or they're trying to swap with other people and get different comics for their stuff. And there's tons of times I bought stuff there where the person selling it, they know that they're selling it for less than it's worth. Maybe not exactly by how much, but I mean, there's definitely been times where like, oh yeah, you're getting a good deal on that. Like they know. They're
just comfortable. They want to get it moving. They want to get it out of their hair, and they want to move it. And it's like, and sometimes it's just like I said, like you don't have the knowledge base, so you're just throwing everything out there at a certain price. Long Box Love Affair found those. What was it? The
Invincible books
issues.
Oh yeah, the
piece. And he was like, and the guy was like, I'm happy getting $10 a piece for him. And he's like, well, just to let you know, they're worth a lot more than that. And the guy was like, that's okay. So I mean,
you enter a space of commerce, you have a responsibility to price your stuff that you're trying to sell. I had a garage sale one time where I had an entire bedroom full of just old dressers and stuff. And one of them was super intricate. And I was like, I don't know shit about dressers and furniture, but I think this thing might be worth some money. And one guy that came in, I forgot how we got on the topic, but he basically knew about like antique furniture and stuff. And he came in and he's like, yeah, I was like, look, I said, you can take all this stuff for $500. He's like, this one piece right here is like $450, $500. I was like, but I don't care. I was like, I don't know anything about this. I was like, you might be right. But I was like, the fact that I can move it all now and you can take it all now and like, just, you know, and that's my responsibility for not checking and doing that research, you know, before.
You make him happy. You're making the money you want to make. He's going to make the money he wants to make. Yeah. It's all part of the chain of commerce, right?
Especially with these in your hand, a supercomputer where you can literally take a photo of something and it'll give you a price instantly. Yeah. There's no excuse for your stuff to not be priced.
Okay. So This leads into something that I've seen John talk about on his channel. So, and this just happened in our neighborhood. I don't know if you know about this, Bronze, but I talked about it. But somebody ran across to Captain America 1, 2, and 3 at a garage sale, in between somewhere you and me, right in between us, and they paid $300. Now, John, what I've heard your theory on this, and you say if something is worth life-changing money, shame on you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got to read the room. You have to read, like you have to you have to know how to read people and read situations. Like if you go into a spot, right? And I'll tell you this. Let me give you like two different scenarios, but very similar. Let's say you go into a scenario, you find a book worth a ton of money. Little old lady, maybe it was her husband's or her son's, passed away. You talk to her, and when you're looking through stuff, people spill their guts, man. When you're looking through books and stuff, people will tell you everything about it. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of get to know the situation. So like if you see a sad situation, the person seems like, they're not the most wealthiest person in the world, and you see a book that is life-changing money, in that stack right there, and you don't tell them, I think you have a moral responsibility to tell that person. And I think you are a bit of a POS if you don't. Now look, do whatever you're going to do, right? But let's say a similar situation happens. And I've seen this before. I knew that these books were probably stolen from somebody, and these people were like druggies, right? And they are too lazy to put in the work and the research to know what they have. And it's probably not theirs to begin with. If you get that vibe, fuck you. I'm taking the fucking shit, and like, you don't deserve this. Again, you have to be able to read people and read the situation. You can't just say that and it's actually like their books and they care about them and stuff. But there are situations where people just come into contact with collectibles and valuable stuff, and they're either too lazy or they have it, improperly in the first place because they've stolen it or something like that. Mm-hmm. So
the ethics question is really interesting. It's like, when I had my shop, I'd have people come in and they'd bring in like a binder full of magic cards, and just to test whether, because they go, oh, these are my cards, I've had them for a while, I know what they're worth and everything. I'd open to a page that had a bunch of $100 cards, and I go, I'm just really not seeing anything here. These are all like 10-cent cards. And they're like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, okay, you don't know jack about what you're talking about. You're a liar. You know.
Yeah.
It's such a. This is one of those weird hypotheticals. I've never actually run into this. Like going to the garage sale where somebody has all comics in here are a quarter, and they've got 4 Amazing Fantasy 15s and a couple X-Men 1s. There's like, I've never run into that. But I've heard stories where it's gone pretty terribly, where somebody's told them like, oh, hey, these are worth a lot more money.
Right.
And then they've cut, there's one specific story. I don't remember the exact ins and outs of it, but this was somebody told me like offline that they did that. They told them like, hey, these are worth a lot more. And they went to go get some money, and they said they were going to try to offer more money for it. And by the time they got back, the people had sold it to somebody else for like 10 times more than what they were offering, but it was still 1,000 times less than it was worth. Sometimes people want that money in the hand. So I've heard the theory that maybe it's best to buy those books and then either give them extra on the spot right there and just say, hey, I'm going to give you some extra money for these because I know they're worth a little bit more than this, but you've already bought them, so some shenanigans don't happen after that. Or if you're going to buy them to sell them, buy them, sell them, and then come back to them and give them the, whatever you think is fair for that amount of money, that life-changing money, to give back to them, so they don't get screwed trying to sell it themselves because they clearly don't know about comic books. I've heard both of those happen, and I really don't know what I would do in the moment, like of those three things, because
it's the moment of truth right there, right? How will you respond?
To me, the best case scenario would possibly be like, the best case scenario I think would be like, hey, let me help you sell these for what they're worth, and then maybe we can work out something on, a cut of what they're worth. I think that would be the best possible scenario, but not everybody might go for that,
Right. Yeah.
My logic for working at a pawn for somebody who works at a pawn shop is the same as LCS. They have a responsibility to price their stuff. Right. So they're in the fuck you category. If their stuff's not priced right, I'm not going to tell the pawn shop owner, who probably doesn't even own the shop. It's probably just where they're working the cashier, the cash register or whatever. I'm not going to tell him, hey, you got this priced incorrectly.
Envelope a cash later is probably the best thing you could do if you have found the little old lady, pick up her AF-15 and then come back later and just hand her an envelope and say thank you.
That's that's interesting, because like me, and like I love doing this, and which is I call it the mystery collection buying. So you kind of use your knowledge of comics, and you kind of take a sample size, and you're like, okay, this many comics, I'm seeing like a couple of keys. if I offer them this based on the amount of work to put into it, you guys know the formula that we kind of use to offer somebody something, right? Am I safe here? Now, let's say something huge comes up later on. Like I'm talking about a Hulk 181, right? Or something that's thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
Do you go back and give that person more money? And, man, again, I think it really depends on the situation. Again, you have to read every situation. You have to read every sinal person and
read the room, right? And then it also depends on is this a repeat supplier to you? Is this somebody who brings books to you on a regular basis? You want to reward that and also say, hey, thanks you found me some really good stuff. I want to give you a little bit more. Yeah, that kind of thing. But
yeah, for sure.
And I think I can sum up a lot of my thoughts on all these topics by saying, like, I presented that scenario, for example, about the garage sale or whatever. Trust me, whatever I end up doing, I'm going to be able to sleep at night knowing that I didn't screw somebody over in some way that is immoral. Whether it's, helping them sell it, whether it's confiding in them that, hey, this is probably worth more than you think it is, or, they're selling it for $100 and I give them 1,000, whatever it is. Yeah, I'm going to find a way to get through that. I've never experienced, so I don't. And that's the thing, is every situation like that is going to be unique and somewhat different. So you don't really know what's going to happen until you're actually in that situation. But hopefully people do use their conscience to guide them in that situation. But I also know there's people out there that don't, right? The dude buying up all those Pokemon boxes in front of that kid, he isn't doing any of those things we just discussed, right? Like we know more people are out there, unfortunately.
No.
But yeah, that is how it goes.
Man, the chat is just going off.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with it, folks. I'm sorry if I'm missing a lot of your stuff here. I will say to Comic Journey's comment, this tends to be my experience as well. Is whenever I go to antique shops, used to be a gold mine for comic books and finding them for good deals. Now they're pricing it at like whatever they saw the highest price ever sold was on eBay. Garage sales, it doesn't surprise me. I know
we just had that garage sale that you turned me on to, and I went to, and everything was priced at eBay prices for the most part, but there were some deals to be had. But there were some sports card sets, and he had pretty good prices on them. I'm like, I ran a shop. I know what to do. I opened up the boxes up. I started key carding them. I'm like, where's the Jeter rookie? It's not here. Where's the Elway rookie? It's not here. I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, I pulled all those out. I'm like, you can't leave the word set on here if you're gonna pull out all the best cards.
Yeah. Yep. You could put 1985 Topps Football Commons at that point. Oh man, yeah, and that's the thing is, it's kind of a dog eat dog world out there. For all the hate that gets put onto flippers, there's also a lot of, and whether it's comic book buyers, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of risk that's being assumed. Whether it's that comic shop where we talked about them buying a collection and maybe they're buying that long box for $10. Maybe everything in that long box doesn't even sell for 10 years and they're forced to store it. There's a lot of factors there where risk is assumed as when you're buying comic books to even have them to flip in the first place.
The quick flip, what kind of labor am I going to have to put into it? The stuff going to need to be rebagged and boarded. All of that goes into the thought process.
The most I think it's my most viewed video on the channel is about basically the thumbnail is like, don't deal comics on ... unless, right? And the whole thesis of the video is pretty much protect your time. And that is the number one thing. Anybody that gets into the comic flipping, selling business, your time is hugely at risk because it's such a meticulous thing to organize, evaluate condition, price, bag, board, put in order, that, you could waste hours and not hours, months of your life, time away from your family, time away from actually reading comic books, right? Or watching your favorite shows, and organize an entire inventory that you will never, ever sell. And that is one thing that, I think is just hugely at risk. And that's my biggest word of caution to anybody that is even thinking about buying collections, flipping comics that way is, protect your time, try to get as much knowledge beforehand, so you don't waste it. Use the internet to your advantage, and know your limit of what you can sell, because it takes up space. And a lot of us that are married have to explain this to our spouses, and so like know what you're able to sell off of however you're going to sell, and anything else that doesn't fit in that category, you need to like find a bulk person or go drop it off at a LCS or whatever, Children's Hospital, whatever you want to do with that stuff, but do not invest your time in stuff that you can't sell.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not only that, but gosh, just when I think about this a little bit, I don't know if you guys do, but also I'm a known person in this community. I can't go out there and be buying up stuff and making bad deals with people and those kinds of things too, because I'm going to get called out on it. Like, it's going to happen. So I try to be the example that I want to set for others, and I think that's a big part of it too. But I've ended up with a bunch of comic books that I don't have any room for, that I need to rebag and board and all those kinds of things. And you're taking those weeks and hours and months and probably would have been better off cherry picking those collections instead of buying the whole thing in a few cases, all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was like more important to do the right thing. But man, people that don't think about all the work that's going to go into that, it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. That's what I've started blowing a lot of stuff out as is, no rebagging, no, not really. I'm like, not sorting it, not rebagging it. Here it is as is, take it,
Yep.
100%. Yeah, it's amazing what the majority of like comics are actually worth. Like when you go to somebody's back issues and stuff, a lot of us actually, I have books right across from me that I know that are priced probably at $3-4 because they were priced 2 years ago. Reality, they're dollar books. Like they're going to sit in here for $3 or $4 and they're going to sit in here for the next 10 years. But reality, they're dollar books. And I think that's the hardest part, is like realizing really what you have and at what price they're going to move at, and just let them go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This guy that I was talking to, he had stuff priced at sentimental prices. So he, $5, $10, even sometimes $20 on X-Men issues that weren't really even worth that much. And I'm like, realistically, dude, that stuff caps out that you've got in there probably $5-6. Yeah. I'm like, if you put $3 on it, it's going to move and make more people happy. I'm like, I can bring you more of that stuff at a much better rate than you would. I'm like, if you want to take that stuff home, I'll bring you more of it to sell at $3 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love Brandon's comment here. Get shelving units. All hoarding TV shows, they had no shelving units. That's right. That's I think it was Kyle, my old
bill all over the floor.
Used to say this: as long as you have shelving units, you're not a hoarder. I can't remember who said that, but I love that. I love that comment. You get it off the floor and you're good to go. Tell people ahead of time you're cheap and you're not going to pay a top dollar. There you go. Kind of glad to set the mentality ahead of time.
I do that when I'm at a show. I'll tell people, I'm like, they'll say, make an offer. I'm like, I don't want to offend you. They'll be like, no, make an offer. I'm like, all right, you asked for it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is when it comes to getting a good deal or any of that kind of stuff, like when I talk about like collection buying, I'm very upfront with people, like, hey, just so you know, I'm not paying what this is worth. Like that's a conversation. If you get any kind of sense that they don't understand that, I highly recommend having that conversation pretty early on.
Oh yeah.
The first time that starts to come up about pricing or about how much of it you're willing to take or any of that kind of stuff, let them know, like, I can't pay what this is worth, because then if I were to try to sell it, I'd be losing money as I tried to sell it.
It's got to be meat on the bone.
Be a fraction of that.
Yeah, it's got to be meat on the bone. It's got to make sense for me to buy it. There's only one time where I went to a veteran's house. I was looking through his stuff, and he's a disabled vet, and he's like, "Oh, this is going to help me be able to go get my medicine and everything." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I'm looking at everything, and I go, "Okay, so value of this is like $120, and so there's got to be some meat on the bone." He's like, "So you'll give me like $100, 105?" I was like, And we're going back and forth, and I'm like, look, I'll tell you what, I'll give you close to what you're asking for it. Just give me a good word of mouth, and that actually worked for me. He actually referred me to a bunch of other people, and so it's you do good things happen. But it's like, most of the time you can't. Trying to explain that to somebody, like, I can't pay book value or FMV for something if I'm going to try to sell it later on, and that phrase of like, the money you make on something is made when you buy it.
Yeah.
Not when you sell it. You make it when you buy it. When you set that purchase price, that's
Yeah.
when you make the money on something.
I'll give anybody. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Weirdo asked a great question that kind of goes along with what Big B was just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just kind of ask you guys real quick. Let's just say somebody has that situation where, let's say it's one book, it's $100 book. We all agree it's $100 book. What would you buy it at if you're trying to buy it from that person so that you could flip it? Like, what do you consider acceptable?
I think it, I hate to keep saying this. It depends on the book. It depends on what you're going to do with the book. Is it grade potential, gradable? I mean, look, if you're just talking eBay, you're going to spend what 15% in eBay fees. So, and that's
plus shipping.
Plus shipping. So if you sell for 100, I mean, kind of the general rule of thumb, I know for a lot of big dealers is like what 60% maybe. So like with like big bulk collections, so like somewhere probably around 50%, just to be safe after shipping, and account for eBay fees, and then you have to account for, if that's the FMV, by the time you're selling it, is it still going to be the FMV, or even will it even move for that price, or will it just
is it a hot book, or is it just a book that's $100 because it?
Right. Yeah. Let's assume that let's assume it's a book that you would consider flipping immediately. So it's going to flip pretty quickly. Because I think that's the basis of the question is,
sure,
you're buying it to flip, so you're probably going to flip it relatively quickly.
Right.
I know there is the long flip. I consider that more investing or speculating than I do flipping.
Right.
But
yeah. I mean, you're realistic. You're trying to get in like 50% or less, because you're going to have, like you said, you're going to have those fees. You have the unknown of like, what's the next buyer going to try to? He's going to try to get you on price as well, so that he gets a little bit of an edge. So nobody wants to pay full FMB. So
I would say, like, let's say it's I think this is around $100. I'm out of touch with things. Let's say it's like a VF Plus Near Mint Minus Saga #1, and it could, there's people that are going to be looking for that. There's going to be a market for it, but it's not something you're probably going to get graded. And you could probably flip it on your eBay store or whatnot or whatever. So you think about $50-$60 probably for that would be like your kind of sweet spot.
Is that what a Saga #1 goes for? $100?
I think it does, but I could be out of touch on the pricing. I was trying to think of a book.
Maybe like a couple of $100.
It might be. You might be right.
I mean, yeah, I would go probably around, like I said, 50% roughly for a book that I would consider to be pretty liquid. I think that's a good rule of thumb. But like I was going to say too, like a good thing for somebody that's going into buying collections. So a great point to bring up to people is, not only what fair market value is, but we're still in the midst of a correction that we don't exactly know when it's going to stop. The last time I went and saw a collection that was actually promising, I printed out Go Collect's comic index. I'm like, you see this line? I was like, and I explained to him, like, COVID happened. Collections got unearthed. The market got flooded. Now there's all these books, and now collectors, some collectors left the hobby. So you kind of explain how the supply and demand has shifted, and show them a graph. Say, look, man, this is like proof. Like, so I'm making you this offer based off of current FMV and room for overhead and things, but I don't know when this is going to stop. So that's a good point to bring up to somebody if you're trying to like get a comfortable price for yourself.
Right. Like when I was looking at collections, I would go through, I pick out all the blue chip keys, and that's going to be what I base my purchase price off of. All the other stuff is maybe I make a little gravy off the rest of it, but you're going to make your purchase price off of the blue chip keys.
But do you pay the value of those blue chip keys?
No, you're going to pay a percentage of the value of that.
Exactly.
And everything else is the stuff that is the unknown of, like, am I going to be able to move this for $1? Am I going to be able to move this for $0.25? I don't know. So.
Yeah, like I think the range for me, and I think a lot of people will agree with this range that have done this, it's somewhere between, it really depends on the book or books, depending on what you're talking about. It's somewhere between 1/3 to 2/3 for me. And it really, that's a huge range, but it really depends, because it's how fast is it going to move? What quality is it? If I'm thinking about, like John mentioned earlier, if I'm thinking about, do I have to go get some of the stuff graded to get the most out of it? Well, then I have to assume some risk there, some time there, some money there. And the grading cost, does it need to get pressed first? Does it need to get professionally cleaned and pressed? That's an extra cost that I have to consider. And then the other thing is, if it's those books, sure, I could probably sell these, but I'm not going to quick flip them because it's not an in-demand title. Something that maybe it's a whole run of stuff that the right collector out there might buy, but you have to find the right collector first. That kind of stuff. I mean, that stuff all is going to absolutely matter and be a factor. That's why there is no easy answer, no one size fits all solution to this.
I'll be honest. Like when I had a shop my shop was 90s, early 2000s, right? So it's like I was 25% in cash and 50% in trade on stuff. That was my buy price at my store.
Okay.
Derek's cracking me up with his.
Some grandma.
Well, you see on the Go Collect Index.
Yeah, grandma gets none of that talk. All right, she just, she don't get none of that talk.
So I got to say that grandma that her Tech 27 is worth nothing. You get nothing. I'll give you $1.
I'll tell you. One of the best way, one of the funnest ways that I like to flip is by learning how to clean and press, because that's part of the hobby that I really love. And you, like I always say, you develop a special relationship with your collection if you get it raw, clean it, press it, predict the grade, get the grade right. And it's amazing how many people that are so anti third-party grading do not grade properly. And you can hugely capitalize on undergrading because people say it's a fine plus. And what they say is a fine plus is actually a near mint minus or whatever. And so if you know a book's grade potential, know how to clean and press, that is one of the best ways to go
to
about
get an edge there. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh, Agreed. Sure. Yeah. And I mean, but then again, like we come back to the time is money thing too. So when you factor in, then you're like, okay, great. I can save on the cleaning and the pressing, but also I know that's going to be taking me, that's going to be this weekend that I'm going to be doing that. And luckily, pressing a lot of it is kind of waiting, but at the same time, it's still some work. You gotta factor that in.
Yeah, for sure.
Comic Journey finally decided on my Saga #1 with no Mylar. His price will be $10, but I believe I have to pay the shipping. Is what I got of that. So I think I'm going to pass on that one, Comic Journey. But I appreciate the offer. The last topic of flipping that I really wanted to kind of get your guys' opinions on. It's a very like special niche kind of flipping, but it does happen. When an online retailer, like an online shop, like there's 100 of them out there. Pick your favorite, 616 Comics or Bird City Comics or whoever, doesn't matter. When they come out with a special exclusive that it's going to be hot. Like for example, this last weekend, J. Scott Campbell's web store had the swimsuit comic books that went nuts. They sold out. I went there in the first couple of minutes. I was going to try to buy a couple of them, couldn't do it. When a comic book like that comes out, there are people out there that through different methods, whether it's bots, whether it's multiple accounts, or they have a bunch of people trying to buy them up, will go and try to buy up multiple copies of those. How do you guys feel about that element of flipping? The people that are buying out, it's online only. That's the only way to get it. And gosh, I'm trying to think of it. There was an example. I believe it was Mutant Beaver, which is a comic book shop from Canada. They bought like 1,000 copies of somebody's exclusive. I can't even remember what the issue was. I think it was like one of the Null books or whatever. When that was all going on, they were able to like buy up a ton of this company's allotment, and they were then selling them on their store. That's an extreme example, but there are people, you see them having like 10, 20, 30 copies of these exclusives that are really hot. How do you feel about that behavior? And
when you see the whatnotters coming away from the shows with long boxes of each of the convention variants and stuff, and they're just able to throw up. They go, you'll see them. They'll cycle through 20 books, and they start over with the same 20 books. They're just like, here's this exclusive, and they just go over and over and over again. I mean, it takes a certain amount of money to be able to do that. I mean, to be able to pull that off. I mean, you and I, the average collector probably couldn't do it. Are they buying it out so no one else can get it? And I think that's crappy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's kind of the same feeling as the person that buys up, 5 or all the books for like a first appearance on New Comic Book Day, leaves none for the reader. It's within the same realm. It feels a little less bad because a lot of those are cover buys. And I just think the attention span for a lot of the people that are looking at that book, 30% of their desire for that book is probably related to, will this be hot also? So I just think people have short attention spans. So it's like, I think like, okay, if they don't get it, it's like, they're not really expecting to get it. It's a long shot anyway. They're going to be looking at another book coming up on some other retailer's website in the next week. So still crappy, but a little less.
It's a risky proposition though too. Like, I mean, they're putting a lot of money into something that,
yeah,
you see these guys after like a couple of weeks, that the books that they were selling for $20 a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, they're selling them for $3 and $4 and $5, trying to just get rid of them because they're like, I bought all, they buy out all this stuff at the end of the show that's left over, and they're just trying to get rid of it. They're like, I got to get rid of this. I put money into it. I got to get it out.
For sure. Yeah. If you can just be patient, and in that sense too, like when it comes to like, the new covers and things like that, definitely the buy what you love motto works in your favor, because if it doesn't pan out to be a hot book, you are going to be stuck with it. So yeah, for sure. I'll tell you one thing that I have coming up, I think this week, and we'll see how it pans out. This is not a retailer thing, but it is the Milkbone, the Superman thing, right?
Oh yeah. Right.
I did get one.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And so that thing showed up a day before I sent a few books off the CGC, and I slipped it in on a fast track. And I think mine's the first one graded. I think.
Nice.
Oh, wow. So we'll see how it hits. I'm gonna do an unboxing with my puppy, my dog, because before I had my comic room set up, I needed something else on camera other than myself. So my dog was like my PNC for like all of my videos for like the first like 3 or 4 paper chase videos. So I'm gonna bring her back, and we're gonna unbox it, see what the hell happens.
That's awesome.
But let me ask you this: so if I get that book back, let's say if it's a 9.8, which I'm thinking it's going to be pretty hard because they were shipped pretty crappily, right?
Yeah.
If it's a 9.8, how would you guys go about selling that? I'm just going to throw it on eBay quickly.
I think you auction it and let the market determine the value.
So like you wouldn't even do a questionable buy it now, $500 and or 99 cents start bid?
You could, but what do you think? I mean, if yours is the only copy, the first copy back, you may blow through that $500, and then are you going to be kicking yourself if you took $500?
I don't know. As I was thinking, like, what if I put like $1,000 on it? I mean, I don't know. At that point, you kind of control unless another one pops up.
Yeah,
it's a huge roll of dice too, because the first auction out of the gate, I've seen this happen so many times where the first auction out of the gate doesn't go for as high, but the second one, because if sometimes you're really quick, you're the only person out there that people don't know what the value of it is, but then they start to hit the second, third, fourth one will go for more. If the book starts to heat up and people start to kind of like put their eyes on it. I've seen it go both ways. I think auction's probably the fairest way. I mean, you do have a claim right there, so I guess there we go. But yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, the only other strategy that works is to price it ridiculously high
and just see what the best offers are,
and just see what the best offers are and that kind of stuff. But
it's gonna be interesting.
To me, the auction it's pure because you are letting the market kind of decide. And even though I said that sometimes the second, third, fourth go for more, most of the time you're kind of the one setting the pace. But
there's a value too in just allowing that traffic to drive your eBay store and your eBay algorithm as well.
Yeah, right. And I was going to say, like, you're a believer in the quick flip and get your money out and be happy with making the profit that you make. And like those video cassettes that I found, we threw them up. We had buy it now 150 or starting bid 75, and they sold.
What's up,
Brad? I was like, man, maybe we priced those too low. But then I would have bought those if I would have seen it sooner, dude. Yeah.
I was interested in those too. I was like, oh, especially was it the Hobbit one or was it Lord
of the Rings? Hobbit one is still around. That one didn't sell. Yeah.
Well, hey, there you go. Maybe I'll send you a best offer.
Yeah.
Those were Betamaxes, right? Weren't they Betamax?
They were the little tiny. They were the 8mm. They were a Walkman version of movies that came out that never caught on by Sony.
Yeah, I still would have bought them.
Yeah. So like, but I paid 50 cents, so I was $150. I was happy.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I priced it too low. No, I can't be unhappy with making $150 on 50 cents.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, so I guess the only other thing I was going to mention about the online exclusive one, the covers, we're kind of talking about the sad cases where they don't sell, but I will tell you, I don't know if you guys are, but I'm part of some groups where people like they're scouting these things out and they are actively like buying to flip, and they're targeting the good ones. They're targeting the the J. Scott Campbells, the Mark Spears, the ones that really move these days. And they have a pretty high success rate. They're posting their eBay wins afterwards and all that kind of stuff. And to a certain extent, to me, it's a lot like if the shop, like we talked about the shop example earlier, if they don't have a limit, they're kind of setting themselves for if you want to buy 10, buy 10. If you want to buy 20, buy 20. If they don't have a limit, that's kind of on them. If the shops aren't doing a good job of allowing restrictions on the sales, they're kind of inviting that, and I'm sure they're happy to sell out their exclusive, if when that does happen.
I mean, look at the sneakers, right? With the sneaker things right now.
Yeah,
there's bots buying up all the sneakers when they come out, the sneaker drops.
The only thing I'll say is that when it comes to that, is I know people that do use bots to buy up the copies, and it's like most of these comic websites, the retailers, they're not going to be able to afford the kind of e-commerce software to prevent that kind of purchasing behavior in the first place. I don't know if they really care, but I mean, that's the only thing is I'm sure there's some people circumventing that. A lot of people in comic books work in IT fields that they know their stuff. So I've seen that happen. In those cases, I feel like it's a little scummy, but at the same time, you're just kind of finding your way into the crack in the system there. So
for sure. Yeah.
And you are assuming the risk like we talked about.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There is something that comes with taking on that big risk for sure. That's a little more, I guess you can say, forgivable.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess to sort of sum up this topic a little bit, the bigger question to me that we kind of didn't really get to is, why does flipping seem to have like this negative, John mentioned the vocal minority earlier. Why do we have like this huge knee-jerk reaction to flipping then? Because I think most people that are on this level where we're talking about it understand, most of the chat seems to understand, what it is. I don't think people are really too upset about it in here. I don't see pitchforks coming out. But why do pitchforks come out sometimes when this happens? Like, is it FOMO? Is it just people hate people selling comic books in general? Like, what is it that's driving this?
It's jealousy.
Jealousy, you think?
It's jealousy, but it's people who don't want to put in the work and go out and find this stuff. But they're jealous that you have gone out and done the work. Like John is scouring the internet to find these deals that he's looking for, these collections and everything, so that he can be there to find the stuff. You've got it takes a lot of work. Dave from West Coast Dave Andrews, same thing. He is on it looking for this stuff, and it takes work. Like, I have a lot of my friends would say, like, how do you find all this stuff? And I go, well, how many times did you go out hunting for comics in this last week? Well, I didn't. Well, I did. I went out, 2 days, and sure, you're going to strike out a bunch of times if you're going to garage sales or anything. Like, John has great things. You guys watch John's videos on how to find stuff. Good.
There's one guy, man, God bless his soul, always comments on my video, watches all of them, but there's always like this shade he throws of like, I get a collection, great collection. He's like, whoopee, like, oh great, this is like, one time he's like, this is ridiculous. So unfortunately, he's kind of like Bronze Age Nerd with his location is really, really inhibiting him from getting anything good. He's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. And so to that, I'm like, look, man, like that is a factor for sure. Like Dave from West Coast Dave Vengers makes me look like I live in a Sahara desert, the amount of collections he goes to. Because I had Katrina, right? I'm from New Orleans. Like, how many collections were just washed away during Katrina and then COVID, and then they all came out during COVID. So like, there's really not a whole lot left here. So in a way it's harder, but then it makes it fun. But to anybody that's like thinking about doing it, don't let anybody make you feel bad because you enjoy doing something, because you enjoy the work that you're doing. And like Bigby said, a lot of it is jealousy for sure. And then a lot of it, and like I said in the beginning, is just the loud minority of like, you know, we're concentrating because it's human nature to concentrate on the negative. You know, they are the 20% that's saying, you know, how dare you go out and find these comics and sell them for more than what they're worth, you know. But that's just because that sticks in our head. It's not the other 50 comments in the video and the 200 likes that say, hey, great job, awesome haul. That stuff slips away. We always concentrate, just it's human nature. So don't let that discourage you. You know, again, it's those people just, for whatever reason, if they want to sell me their AF-15s for 12 cents, I'll gladly buy it from them, you know?
That cover price discount.
Yeah. Or if they do, I love when somebody busts out a Overstreet price guide to, you know, price their books. If they want to go that route.
They can even mark it up. This one, they priced it at 14 cents. Right.
Oh my God.
See the 14 there by Magneto.
That's gorgeous, man. And I know Mylar is a hell of a drug, but that's gorgeous. That's nice.
It's pretty.
But no, that one I paid more than 14 cents.
Yeah.
You still got a hell of a deal if I don't.
I did, because the guy, nice enough guy and everything, but he's like, I did my research, looked at the grades, I know what it's worth. This, I'm not taking less than this. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's funny that most of the people that approach flippers with that negative mentality, you know, I think too that I don't think they're putting much thought into the different ways that you can flip comics. So like I said, it's a blanketed statement, and they're thinking it's like the little video that we watched of the dude scalping all the Pokemon cards and the kids like left there.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't take into account either, like all the time, the gas, all of this that goes into the supplies that you have to buy.
Yeah.
Everything else that goes into it. It's not just that I got a great deal on these books. I got to go buy, you know, 1,000 bags and boards. I'm going to go buy, you know, all this other stuff to take care of this and procure and not procure. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. Take care of the collection.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's properly stored so I can get it into the hands of the right people. It costs money. And so there's additional things that people don't think about.
Yeah. eBay fees, whatnot fees, buying space at a show to sell it, or having buying space at a physical space to sell it. The you know, the time it takes to list those things on eBay or whatnot. I mean, that's all real stuff. And
the cleaning and pressing, all that.
Yeah. And you know, I think that there's a lot. You guys have had such great comments on all this stuff, and I think it's all very true. And I think that there's also something to the fact that there's this mentality, you know, the real collector got brought up earlier, the real collector. The comic book community awards are back. I always hear about the real comic book community. Like, there's these gatekeepers in this hobby that there's people out there that I can tell they've looked down their nose at you if you've ever sold a comic. Ever. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how you did it, but they look down your nose at you if you sold a comic book. And I've had conversations with a couple of those people where it's been really funny to get them down to that rabbit hole of, what is a comic book shop to you then? They sell comic books. You know, they buy comic book collections. What's the difference between somebody who does that out of their own home and operates mostly online and a comic book shop? Well, but they're offering new comic books every week and they're getting new. All those things are true. Look, there's shades of gray to all this stuff. I completely agree that I love LCSs. I don't want to see them go away. There's plenty of pros there. I'm not trying to demonize LCSs saying they're bad for this. I'm trying to say people who do it on their own aren't doing something crazy evil. It's just another way for them to hopefully fund the hobby. And that's the big thing. Pretty much anybody I know who flips comic books, I can't think of a single person who isn't like kind of working towards their Grail comic books, or they're working towards their, completing their collection of their run that they love, or whatever it is. Because to be honest, if you're in this comic book space at all on any level, you probably have some love for comic books, whether it's, maybe a lot of them, I hate the new comic books. That's fine. They still love the old comic books, just like all of us. We're all in it together. We just have different ways of doing it. Bigby was a great educator to me of the idea of using the hobby to fund itself. That's not a new concept either, but he's really been somebody who's preached that to me, and I completely believe it. Like, if you can find a way to make some change here and there that adds up to you getting a better comic book for your collection, hell yeah. you've spread
I've got
those comic
3
books out
examples right next to me from this last year to a couple months ago that, you know, this was little book by little book by little book, you know, adding up to it, finally buying a bigger book and trading that bigger book for this book.
Nice.
It's, you know, that's how I do it, because I'm, like you said, I'm not rich, right? It's like, so that's the reason that I do my flipping, is to help build my collection and to have some extra spending cash for time doing things with my son, you know. So
for sure.
Sorry, Hadrasal, I'm sorry I brought some logic into this debate. My apologies.
You know, and I think I've really from that person's person that hates anybody who sells comics but loves their LCS. I mean, their biggest argument going for them is that an LCS, a brick and mortar, is a place for community, right? Right. It's a place where conversations start. Well, what the hell do you call the chat here? You know what I'm saying? Right. For you to actually flip comics now, you either have to have a brick and mortar, or you really have to have some sort of online presence in some form. And by creating an online presence, you're creating a community. Do you really think, you know, oh, well, you know, a brick and mortar, you know, new comic book days, get new kids in the comics. You really think your brick and mortar shop is going to entice a young kid to come in? No, dude, he's going to find it online. That's where he's going to find comics, through Marvel Rivals, through gaming, through chat rooms, whatever. That's through YouTube. That's where they're going to find, stumble into this hobby.
Yeah. I would say there's one other risk that you run as being a person who does flipping, is it can rapidly ruin collecting for you. Like, where you're just like, I hate this.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
A lot of people who own LCSs and stuff do not enjoy the hobby anymore. For sure. For a long time, I lost my passion for comics when I had my shop. I was like, this sucks. I loved it before I got into it. Everybody goes, oh, what a great job. And you're like,
right. That's interesting.
It's kind of like the gynecologist who comes. No, I'm just kidding. This is the old joke there. You know what? It's funny. We get to the kind of, I was thinking a little bit near the end of the conversation, but a couple comments did come in here that I do think are worth kind of reacting to. First one is from Norin Rad, aka Rad Arts and Comics. By the way, we're going to have a piece from Norin Rad later on in our community art section, so definitely stay tuned for that. He said his concern with flipping is, in the end of the deal, someone gets screwed or taken advantage of in order for a flip to happen. That's not going to support growth of collectors. It will drive them away. Now, I am going to challenge you, Norin, to say that while certainly sometimes somebody could get screwed in a flip, I don't think that happens the vast majority of the time, personally. But I guarantee you that there are some cases out there where flips have screwed people over, 100%. And when that does happen, I think we've kind of all admit that's shitty. You know, it's not good for somebody to feel taken advantage of, or have good faith in the transaction, because that will affect their long-term opinions on the hobby. But at the same time, you know, I think if somebody is smart enough to know a comic book's going to be worth something, they go to the LCS, they buy it for cover price. The LCS made a sell. They take it to eBay. It heats up over the next week. They list it, and they make, you know, what, another $15 on it, maybe another $20 or something like that. Then they've made some money. eBay's made some money. Not that people are probably too worried about eBay making money. And then that new collector who wanted the book was able to get a copy of it. So in that chain, it's possible for several people to actually be pretty happy there.
The best transaction is where all parties are happy. And like when John was talking about selling his antique furniture, John was happy to get that money. The guy was very happy to get it for that price, and he can move it to somebody else who will be happy to get it for a price from him. So there's nothing wrong with people making a profit on a deal, and people are aware of. It's just if they're unaware and they're being taken advantage of, like the little grandma, like you're saying, who sells her Tech 27 for $1 or whatever. So
Swaglass's example, that poor grandma out there, definitely got to feel for her. But this was the other one that caught my attention. Brandon said it's partially taking advantage of people, in my opinion. An Xbox during the pandemic was $1,000 when we all knew people were sitting at home, most likely wanted to play the game on the new system. And I mean, to a certain extent, with that example, I get you. I struggle to think of a comic book example that's that, like, generally, I'm thinking it's usually either a comic book that's been around for a long time, or it's a comic book that one cover is really going hot So it's not like the person can't read the comic book. Absolute Batman, we talked about that a couple times. There's a million covers for Absolute Batman #1 out there. You can, and there's 12 different printings. You can read Absolute Batman digitally. You can read it physically. That's not going to, the trades volume 1 of the trades probably out by now. I don't even know actually on that one. But it will be soon if it's not. And but yeah, you might want that one specific cover that was super limited and it's going for 10 times, cover value or whatever it originally sold for. And that can happen. Definitely. But at that point, I think it's kind of more of FOMO and just it becomes another valuable collectible in the hobby where there's so many.
Yeah. It can, like, nice covers, attractive covers can definitely wear for sure. Like, after all the hype dies down, take a look at it again, and you're probably going to feel a little bit different a few weeks down the line.
Bigby looks like you just did some business here. I think that's what I'm getting from this.
Oh, sweet, cool. That's good.
Nice.
Those Golden Age Headless Horseman books that I had for him.
Oh, right on. Very cool. Very cool.
Very nice.
So I think that's kind of been most of our discussion about flipping.
There's one other thing I talk about for flipping. Yeah. This is going to make Richard happy. What do you feel about people flipping the Sydney Sweeney soap?
Oh, the Sydney Sweeney soap?
Yeah.
Their own show.
I love my wife.
That's right. Sydney Sweeney. One day she'll be a guest on this podcast. I don't know when it's going to happen. But I think the word is spreading out there. People know. We got the Sydney Sweeney love here.
Well, if you get some soap, there might be enough DNA in it to get you a clone one day.
Hey, if we melt enough bars and then kind of extract it,
is that
Mr.
still
on it?
Is that still selling for a lot?
I was going for quite a bit for a while there. I don't know how it's doing now.
Oh, did it already like come out and sold out kind of a thing, or?
Yeah, I think it.
Okay.
Saw them on the secondary market going for a lot.
I just heard too that some major pharmacy company had bought the rights to the vault of 23andMe. So a large pharmacy company just wanted to buy all of this vault of DNA. So I don't know. You might have a lot of money on your hands if you got some Sydney Sweeney soap.
I just saw a headline about that. I think the original founder is buying it back. Because that's a whole can of worms right there. I mean, like
DNA flipping.
It's right up there with like AI to me as like the crazy topics we got to think about for the next generation. But it's nuts. Sold out. Apparently, one guy bought all of them, and he's out there flipping them.
It was Richard.
Folks, I've changed my mind. Flippers are dirty. I hate them all.
Or he's super clean. One or the other.
I want to say, you mentioned the Comic Book Community Awards. Did you know Richard is now a member of the board for that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Richard.
He's now one of the people who helps make that all better.
Nice.
I do know Richard was kind enough to, in honor of Heroes for Heroes, our charity for Mission 22 to raise money for veterans dealing with mental health crisis. He was kind enough to sponsor a category on our behalf for Heroes for Heroes, which is awesome. And I do continually appreciate that. Anything to help spread the word about that and help raise some money for our veterans, I really do appreciate. So that explains, committee. Oh, he's on the committee.
Oh, Derek himself. There you go. Cool.
Ooh. Derek's got clones, dude. Derek's got clones for sure. There's no way you can be in that many chats at once.
Yeah, man, I love all the people that I see in like every comic book community chat. Don't get me wrong, I love all the people we see in our chat every week, but it's like a GT Key comic goes around to like just about every show, and Christina and Comic Journey and Derek and Richard and all these people. Not trying to leave anybody out. You guys are awesome for being such a great part of the comic book community. I know we appreciate somebody sitting around and watching us talk. I know I do. Speaking of sitting around and watching all of us talk, I just want to take another quick reminder out there that links for our guest for his channel is in the description. Links for if you want to follow Bigby on his own channel, Bronze Age Nerd on my own channel. or on the EXP, which we're also streaming to that comic book network as well. Links for all those are in the description. We'd really appreciate you going and doing that. I know I saw some love for the thumbs up in the chat. We always appreciate that. Leaving a comment if you're watching on the rewatch, go ahead and start typing that comment now because we'd love to reply to you later on. John, you've been a wonderful guest. I know you're on a different time zone where it's a little bit later. Do you want to stick around and see some of our community artwork and that kind of stuff, or do you want to try to hit the sack?
I'll stick around for a bit.
I know there was one other news article. We usually have like this whole news segment. I didn't pull a lot of news stories for this week, but there is one other kind of thing that I think, talking about flippers and speculators, a lot of them were interested in this character when he first came out. We got Null is officially coming back. Venom 3 was really hot for a while during the pandemic. It was kind of the perfect timing when that book came out. And now for Venom 250, which I know is using some screwy Marvel numbering to get there, because I know Legacy 200 was definitely using some creative math to get to Legacy 200, but now we're at 250, and we've got the King in Black coming back, Null himself. Pretty interesting. I love this character. I'm glad he's coming back. I don't really think I love it. It's a good cover. I don't think I love the King in Black event very much and what they did with him, but I am excited to see somebody else writing Null. And Al Ewing is the writer on this one, along with Charles Soule, and we got art by Terry Dodson and Carlos Gomez, two amazing artists. This is the Stegman cover.
So is that the MJ? That's the MJ Venom, right?
Probably. That hasn't changed already, has it? I'm not reading that title.
Not that I know of.
But he's back. Yeah, so probably. Although for this, they might.
He says, "Who are you?" That's interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
So is this an ASM 316 different angle?
Right, like shifted perspective. I like that. Maybe
that's gonna be the new homage variants. It's from different angles.
Dude, I would actually appreciate that because cool. they've some covers have gotten insane.
Bronze would like all the ladies from the backside angle.
I mean, look, I'm not gonna turn it down.
Can I compliment you guys on your intro to the show? Yeah. Was amazing.
Bronze all the way.
And whatever that Sydney Sweeney thing was, that was great too. But just great production value. That's some good stuff.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for that. We started off very low tech, and I kept promising to bring in some higher production values, and eventually we got there.
A little bit.
It's hard to get over the comfort of just my phone, everything being done on my phone with my camera, editing software. It's all in just one package. So I don't know if I'm ever going to upgrade ever. I might just stay how it is.
Big B is kind of in that, you're kind of that kind of school where you did a lot of it on your phone for a long time. I know you eventually started streaming from your laptop and stuff, right? But
yeah. Most of like my shorts and stuff, I still did it all from my phone.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating. I don't know how much people care about this, but I thought about doing a stream one week where we talk about like being a content creator, because some people are interested in it to a certain extent. Not everybody. I totally understand that too. But I'm interested in seeing how different people, like what their setup is and what kind of effort they put into things, because there are tools out there that people use that I like. Big B has shown me a couple of tools he uses. I had no idea those things existed and that they could make, help you make shorts and all kinds of different things that people do on YouTube. And because I do all my editing is all on PC and it's all like painstaking and all that kind of stuff. And I'd love to find some easier, faster ways to do things and all that. But our community, I definitely think it's strange how there's not a lot of like not world building, but people trying to help each other out with their setups and like their streaming and all that kind of stuff. I know a lot of people have like approached me and like, hey, how do you do your thumbnails? Like, what do I do with it? How do you do this? I love helping people with that stuff.
Oh yeah, it was very overwhelming how to do bumpers and intros and that kind of stuff when I first got in. I was like, I don't have any idea how to do any of that. So
if y'all ever do a show like that, let me know. I have
cool
some stuff for sure to lend.
Yeah,
I've had two questions about the mug. This is actually the cup from Beetlejuice, the drinking cup.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So it's a Beetlejuice cup. It's massive.
Somebody here was like, "Are you drinking out of a tennis ball?"
Tennis, yeah. So that's what this is.
Awesome.
But,
awesome. Yeah, Comic Journey has only the most state-of-the-art equipment. It's great for showing off those hands. He's a hands-only streamer. He only has a camera on his hands. Bri had a great video today about. Oh, there you go. Taking pictures of slabs is I've gone the lengths when I really wanted to take the pictures, like having like a piece of poster board or whatever with a black. Like a black side to it, and just cutting the pinhole out for the camera so you don't get the big reflection. Take it in natural lighting so you don't have big glare on it. Like it's difficult to take pictures of slabs well.
Right.
It is. I would say if you go to if you have an iPhone, go portrait mode, which blurs the background. Higher quality photo. And then what I've been doing recently on mine is actually, because I used to do the same thing. I used to do white background poster board. But then now I've just been my desk and my wall as the backdrop, and it actually just makes it stick out. So when you're like scrolling down and have a bunch of listings, it's the one that pops out because everybody has gone to the white background.
I will say for sales stuff, scanning is still really like if you're just trying to get like a professional image of your slab for like Shortboxed or eBay or whatnot or something like that, scanning is still, and I don't do it, but I love that when that's done because I don't have a scanner, unfortunately, or else I would do it. And then for portrait mode, I'm an Android guy, but they have portrait mode on Android too, and that does work really well, and it can really make things pop. I agree.
We were all chomping at the bit to get into the topic, and we didn't go over like what you've been reading, what you've been watching. How was your weekend? All that good stuff.
We did kind of go over that. The show was just going so well. I kind of just jumped into it. I'm guessing you're asking that because you have something you wanted to show off. Because I
don't have anything great to show off. I was just like, wanted to ask how you guys' Father's Days were. And
giant size X-Men foils.
Dude, I swear every time I ask that question, or every time Bigby brings that up, usually it's like he's got that Avengers 1, or he's got like
is Swag still in the house? Poor Swag.
He might be. Oh yeah, the giant size X-Men foils.
Yeah.
The crazy books I had for I did a stream with Mon this weekend, and everybody's showing some books at the end of it. And I'm like, do you guys want to see bangers or you want to see books I got recently? And they go bangers, and I'm just like, pow, pow, FF1. Those guys, they're all going,
I'm gonna have to clip that what you just did there.
And I think I was worried about cursing at the beginning of this podcast.
It's man, the giant size X-Men foils, by the way. I don't know. Did Sweat? I know he did a stream about it. Was there something that happened or?
Oh no, he did a video on it, and his video is kind of basically themed around like it's basically the same book, right? They just moved the Marvel stamp over, Marvel logo over, different thing on the back. And then I was like, look, man, it is a different type of foil. Like, because his whole thing was like, it's exactly the same. It was like a Scandal reprint was his thumbnail. And I get it, man. Look, we're YouTubers. You got to sell the thumbnail. But I was just like, it's technically a different book.
It's like spot foil on this one, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's spot foil, which actually it really looks way better. It's like if I think if BTC actually would have done what GameStop did the first time for their version of it, I don't even think GameStop's would have even had a shot. Like I think it would have been the book. But yeah, they actually did do it a little bit better. I mean, look, regardless, it's still not a giant size X-Men one. It's still a foil. I got 2 of them because I went out there last Sunday, and then I had to buy 2 figures because it popped up on Facebook comic book group. And the guy's like, oh, GameStop's doing these things. You have to buy a figure. So I go there and buy 2 figures. And then the guy's like, oh, if you get a GameStop membership, I'll give you another one. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, I ended up paying $75 for 2 of them.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. I sold one for like $50 on eBay. And then now I got 2 figures in a cool foil that I don't know, I'll hang on to. I mean, it's like, I don't like love it, but it's pretty cool. Like I like it.
That was the thing that bothered me the most. So I watched Swag's video but I know he did a Father's Day stream where it was like part of the title. I didn't watch the stream yet. Shout out to Swag. He always does great stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the funny thing to me that kept getting lost in the shuffle is people were talking about, and I know there are exceptions to this because I used to be a GameStop store manager. I understand people were getting them handed out to them because the employees had no idea what it was and they were asking for them, or they didn't care, or they didn't have any Legends figures on the shelves. But what people didn't understand is you had to buy 2 Marvel Legends figures. For those that don't know, that's $50. And then people were going around showing the eBay solds of like $50, being like, "Oh my god!" It's like they made like essentially nothing on that.
But you got 2 figures too, so there's some value there.
Exactly. But they made nothing. They just got the figures for free. They didn't.
Yeah.
The comic book sales aren't. It's not like it's a $50 comic in a vacuum, unless you happen to get one for free, which I know a lot of people did for sure. But that's the funny part to me is no one was talking about buying the figures, and that's the promo. You got to buy the figures and be a pro member to get the thing anyway. So it's funny.
I got a Miles one and I got a Hallows Eve one. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm happy with the purchase. But yeah, and then like of course, so my comment of calling him out on it being a different book was like upvoted by 14 people upvoted it. So it's the best comment because all 14 people there. Yeah, the silent minority was like, so it's just one of those things. I was just like, I didn't want to call the dude out. It's also 50-year anniversary. It is
for Giant Size. Yeah, that was I think the driving force, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a topic, by the way, Weird Dopes, that we'll probably discuss on another episode. It's a great question. It's something I've been meaning to kind of get into a little bit, but I know it's kind of more of a nuts and bolts thing, but I think it's something that we'll probably talk about at some point. Great question. We're going to file that one away is what I'll say. But my advice just for 2 seconds would be, if you have anything that's valuable that you think is irreplaceable, if it were to be lost, I would insure it. That's what I would say. Problem is you got to be really careful how you insure your comics, because a lot of homeowner renters insurance stuff doesn't actually cover it unless you're very specific on how you get it covered.
We have to do some research. I watched, I think, an episode or 2 of Bronze and Modern Gods where they talked a little bit about the best insurance policies and stuff.
Nice.
So I'll try to go back and do some more research on that.
Yeah. But Big B asked, and this is a good question. So yeah, Father's Day was yesterday. Shout out to all the fathers. A little late on the Happy Father's Day, but all the fathers out there, including all 3 of us on the panel. How'd everybody's Father's Day go?
We'll start with John.
Man, it was great. I'll ask my wife. I was like, I just want to bend over a little less because we have a 60-month-old. So his goal is to annihilate himself in some sort of way. So I was like, if I can just bend over a little bit less. Her parents came over, we barbecued and just hung out and chilled, and it was perfect. It was a good day, very good day.
Nice, that's awesome. How about you, Big B? Did you have a good Father's Day? You're muted, by the way. You're muted. There you go. Oh, still can't hear you. Interesting. So I will let Big B try to figure out his audio issue, and I'll go ahead and answer the question real fast while he's working on that. Yeah, I had a good time on Father's Day. I have a 6-year-old daughter. Went over to my dad's house, my mom and dad's house, and we got some Chinese food because that's what we both tend to like. My dad and I. So we got to eat our food for once, as opposed to what all the ladies want, because it's more ladies than guys.
Yeah.
And we hung out, had a good time. I got a sweet Star Wars Lego set for my wife and daughter. A little
that is cool.
Ahsoka action there. That's really fun. Got some beef jerky, some fun gifts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's the same kind of thing. I got to sleep in and chill a little bit and kind of take it easy, which I'm a stay-at-home dad is kind of my normal job. So that's I like that. That was nice.
Absolutely, man.
Save the knees and back a little bit.
Yeah, the whole Father's Day thing is definitely a new thing for me, and it's just it's almost kind of like getting a second birthday, but I'm not a big fan of my birthday, so I don't my wife's like, well, what do you want? I'm like, I don't really nothing. I'm fine. I'm good. Hang out with my son. How about that? That'd be
100%.
That's a good thing. 100%. I was gonna say, when Big B gets back, I don't know. You just brought the Star Wars Lego kit up. Anybody watch Andor? I don't know if that's going to make your chat plummet or
no. And that's something we talked about because we usually in the beginning we talk about kind of what we've been watching, what we picked up that week, that kind of stuff. And we talked about Andor a couple times. I think we both kind of felt like it was a bit of a slog about halfway through, and I still have yet to finish it. I'm like,
okay.
I think I'm on like the fourth or fifth episode. And for some reason, it's just not as catchy for me as the first one was. Like the vibe of it, like straight from the jump, I was feeling like this is a little different. Like I like seeing Cassian more as like the actual spy and going to steal the TIE fighter prototype and all that stuff. But that was fun.
That was.
I guess I expected by this point in the season where I'm at to be like, all right, we should get closer to that Rogue One kind of time period where I wanted to see like K2SO or the U-Wing show up or something like that.
What episode are you on?
I think I'm on like 4, I think.
Oh, you're right there. You're right.
Yeah, so I know some of it does, like, because it's been out for a few weeks now. I've seen some screenshots and stuff, but yeah, we'll see if he's restarting. He got restarting update probably.
Dude, I feel the exact same way as you do, man. Like that first season was really, really good. And then right where you're at, I literally felt the exact same way. Other than like the intro where he steals a TIE fighter, which was like one of the greatest action Star Wars scenes.
That was cool.
So creative and thrilling and funny at the same time. And it was great. But you're definitely right there at the best parts are about to come up for sure.
And it's, I will say this much, it's super well done. And it's I like the tone of it in general. It's a little more dramatic, a little bit more intrigue, a little bit more political. But kind of where I'm at right now, and it's probably just bad timing of kind of where my wife and I were watching together. We kind of left off where we did, but like it feels like we're spending a lot of time focusing on this wedding for like I don't really know, this is important, and there's a few things like that, and but I'm sure that it's going to be better as it goes along. Everyone seems to love it, and I'm sure I'm in for a wild ride for the last part of it. I can't wait. Rogue One is straight up one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and I like, unironically, without getting into the whole Star Wars debate, like it might even crack the top 3 from the original trilogy to be one of my favorite movies. I love that movie so much.
Absolutely, man. It's that movie accomplishes a lot with being a good standalone, but somehow makes its movie that comes after it better. Like and I mean, like a lot of people are saying, I'm sure I'm gonna have the same experience, but a lot of people are saying like, oh, I watched Andor and then I went and watched Rogue One immediately. Yeah. For me, like I watched Rogue One, I immediately went and watched episode 4 because it's just, I mean, it's to the second, right? And the ending is just insane. And that's really my favorite space battle in all, the whole freaking the saga is called Star Wars. Right. That is the best space battle in any of the Star Wars movies. And Return of the Jedi used to be one of my favorites just because I love the space battles. Yeah. And now that one kind of took over for me. Yeah, it's incredible. So you are a fan of the elevated genre of Star Wars, like the spy espionage version. Like, so you think there could be like a horror Star Wars? I'd love to see it. I'd love to see comedy. I'd love to see horror. I'd love to see like an anthology live action series that maybe explores, I'm not saying exactly like Black Mirror or Twilight Zone, but kind of explore some of the weirder stuff in Star Wars. Like, I mean, I remember in the 90s reading like the Tales from Jabba's Palace and Tales of the Bounty Hunter and all those kinds of books. I'd love to see them try to do some weird stuff like that, where we explore some of the weird characters in the cantina, or the strange stuff that we always wanted answers for, and all we got was stuff on the back of an action card backer. Yeah. Hey,
can you hear me?
Audio? Yes, we do. Woohoo! We were just talking about Star Wars and Andor. Oh, now you're messing. Oh no! What? Oh, Bigby, come on. Oh wait, no, are you being serious?
You talk. I will talk. You move your lips. We'll try to do this together.
Okay, you're muted, so I don't know if you're actually being for realsies or not. No, you're being for realsies. Okay, well, that's too bad. No, we cannot hear you. Well, I'm going to start showing off the community art while you take care of what you need to take care of, because I want to make sure we show those people's fantastic contributions to our lovely show here that we have, and it's what makes my week every week is seeing the artwork you guys send in. So John, if you don't know, on our show we have our viewers sending in artwork, and we've had even professionals send our artwork, which is really, really flattering. Nice. When that happens. But we love seeing all the artwork people send in. Some people send in artwork every week. Some people just whenever they got something done. But first up out of the gate here, we were talking about Norrin Rad or Rad Art and Comics on Instagram earlier. Got Superman and Crypto, very timely for the new movie coming out. Yep. Did a great job on that one, Norrin Rad. We love it.
Very cool.
Yeah. This is Comics Limited, who's in the chat right now. Yeah, Skeleton, by the way, Skeleton Crew was good. That's a good call out. I'm excited because they're adding pirates to the Star Wars Galaxy Heroes game I play on mobile, and I was like, sweet, they're adding all the pirate characters now. That's great.
Oh, hell yeah.
But this is great art from Comics Limited, doing the snap here. That's awesome.
That's hard to do mid-snap with those fingers curled like that.
Good hand anatomy, and I love the Kirby crackle. I'm always a fan of that.
Yeah.
Nicely done. This is from Eddie Rodriguez, who does like these sketch cards, coming in with a fantastic Vampirella here. And it kind of is almost like, I think of it as kind of a graffiti-esque style he does. I really dig it.
Cool. Very cool.
Well done. And then we've got Eric from Side Quest Comics doing a Silver Surfer here.
Nice.
Speaking of Norrin Rad, we've got the OG. I guess technically that could be Iceman, but I'm thinking Silver Surfer.
I think so too.
Came in through Big B, so pretty sure we got Silver Surfer there. And then we have James Foster from Nerdy Musings.
Nice.
Doing his. This is for his original comic, I believe.
Spawn 1.
Yeah, exactly. Nice homage there. Loving his use of line work there, and the thickness on the lines is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Iraq. Good title too.
It is.
I got Phil Tastic coming in with another great piece from him. He's been doing this. I don't even know what to call this style he's been doing, but it reminds me of the way he does these black borders on it. Reminds me of the hip hop covers from Marvel.
Oh yeah.
And he's done some great stuff, but I don't know if that's supposed to be Beast or Sasquatch. Again, Big B's probably yelling into his microphone as he's restarting his computer. It's so and so. He told me in the post when he sent it to me.
I'll lean Beast on that one for sure.
Oh, you know what? Clash of the Titans. That's the feature for Clash of the Titans. That's right.
Nice. Very cool.
I forgot about that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, love the style there. And this one, Rich Stankey has been delivering on these pieces already sent in. He's doing the Bride of Frankenstein here. John, you don't know, it might be a little silly, whatever. I love it. I do something called the booty cover of the week on my show.
Yeah.
And this gets the booty of the week here. I wish I could make that larger. That's what she said. But yeah, great job, Rich, on this fantastic booty. He knew his audience.
It's a different perspective for sure.
Yep, 100%. And then we got Roscoe. Roscoe always brings the heat, doing this awesome Simpsons primordial cover here. Love the like duct tape NASA rocket on the back.
It's cool.
Cartoon style. Love it. Roscoe always does great stuff. And then this is the one that I was hoping for the most, that for Big B to be around. If you're in the chat, Big B, let me know, because I know Steve sent you. He's been doing a sketch a day. I don't get the reference on this. Is that Lettuce Comics? Is that what that is? Maybe because that looks like Lettuce's symbol.
It does.
Yeah. But I don't quite get the reference here. I can tell you this much though. I love that Steve is out there drawing. You know, I think it was partially inspired by our show doing this community art stuff. And he does a drawing a day, and that is fantastic. You're going to get so much better as you do that. Yeah, keep it up, man. We'd love to see the improvement on the art. That's fantastic. It is Lettuce. Okay, cool. It is cool. I recognize the logo, but I'm there's so many channels out there. I'm not super familiar, but glad I recognize the logo. All right. So that's this week's community artwork. If you'd like to have your community artwork featured on our program, all you have to do is send it to either Big B or myself. You can, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, email, my Discord server, wherever. Links for all that's in the description below. Hey, make a sketch. If you haven't drawn in 20 years, draw a stick figure with a cape on it. We'll still show it. One of my favorite moments, speaking of Father's Day yesterday, one of my favorite moments from this show was showing off my daughter's Powerpuff Girls drawings that she did as part of the community artwork, because she said, Daddy, I want my artwork on your show. I was more happy to do it. And she was just laughing and giggling the next day when I showed her the clip from us doing it. That was one of the highlights of my time doing this show. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, hopefully he does one of us soon. The new upskirt perspective. I love it. Oh my gosh, you guys crack me up. I love the chat. I'm gonna assume at this point Bigby's probably not gonna make it back for the end of the show. So for Bigby, I'll sign us off together. I'll just remind you, go follow Bigby's channel if you're not following it already, because we are streaming to both of our channels, as well as the EXP over on that fantastic network of comic book shows. And really, if you could do me one favor, guys, go follow another great channel. That's John at Paper Chase Comics. His link is in the description below as well. Go give him a follow. Check out some great content he does. If you like any of the things we talked about tonight with flipping or buying comic books or selling comic books, you're going to love watching his channel. It's a great, entertaining channel in a comic book space. John, thanks so much for being on the show tonight. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, dude, I had a blast. This is a great time. Anytime.
Nice. And it was great to actually get a chance to finally talk to you in person too, and get a chance to meet you. And I can't ask for a better show. So thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, folks, we'll be back next week with a new topic. If you want to suggest any of those topics and you're still watching the show, go ahead and leave that comment in the live chat or in the comments down below, because we'd love to talk about what you guys want us to talk about. And we'll be back at the same Best Coast time and same Best Coast channel. So come check us out again. Have a great week, everybody.